How can giving a statement after an injury hurt your case? My name is Jon Howell. I'm a personal injury attorney and handle cases where people have been hurt. It could be car accidents or falls or other types of injuries. And I'm going to explain to you why giving a statement after a case to the defendant or the defendant's insurance company or an investigator can hurt your case. So usually what happens is, let's say it's a car accident or you fell at a store, and then maybe that same day or sometime afterwards, someone contacts you and says, "Hey, I just want to know more about what happened. Can I get a statement from you?" And then they ask you, can they record it? And it's usually a risk manager. That's somebody working for the business or for the insurance company that is trying to control how much damage there's going to be from this. And that's their goal. So you got to understand their mindset. Understanding that, usually they will ask you a lot of questions. They'll ask you about how it happened and they'll ask you about your injuries. When they ask you about how it happened, they're going to be digging into what you know and then hopefully get you to say something that's inconsistent with the facts or get you to say something that doesn't make sense. So, for example, if there's a car accident, they may ask you questions like what lane you were in and whether there was a traffic signal, things like that. And then they're going to hope that you say something that doesn't make sense or doesn't help you. So if there's only one lane of traffic, but you say there were two, and you didn't really get a chance to review like a map, or you forgot, or maybe sometimes after an accident, people are flustered or in shock, and they may give something that's not technically right, even though they're not at fault for the crash, but they'll get mixed up. So that's one way. Another thing that they may do is dig up information about whether you know about any witnesses and then try to flip those witnesses. Regarding the injuries, once they start talking about the injuries, they may start asking you like body parts that are injured. And usually early on in the case, you may be focused on a particular body part, like your head, if you hit your head, and ignoring or not focusing on other body parts like your neck or your lower back or your legs. And those injuries can be more prominent later. So, but when you give that statement, they'll use that against you saying, "Oh, you only complained about your head. Maybe those other injuries, you're making them up." So that's why it's important to be careful before giving that recorded statement. Another thing that they'll try to do in the recorded statement is get information about your prior injuries or prior medical conditions, like asking, "Oh, did you ever have back pain before or neck pain?" Hoping that you will disclose something that they can use against you. Many people, more often than not, they do have some pre-existing medical condition. They may have some prior back pains or prior neck aches or prior head issues, and an accident can make those worse. The fact that it can make it worse is known by the law, and in fact, the law recognizes that you may have an injury that's aggravated. And so just because you have a prior medical condition or pre-existing medical condition doesn't mean your case is over. But if you start disclosing that information, they will use that against you. They'll say, "Oh, whatever happened in this accident was temporary, and more likely than not, what you're experiencing is something that you've had already." So you want to be careful about disclosing that information when you give a recorded statement. Now, of course, if you're dealing with your own insurance company after an accident, oftentimes in your agreement, you have an obligation to cooperate with them, and that could include giving a statement. But depending on the case, you may want to consult with an attorney and maybe even have an attorney present during the time that you give a statement to make sure that the questions are okay. They're not trying to manipulate you, and also to help prepare you. If you don't give a statement to the other side, it doesn't mean that they're going to not take your case seriously. And oftentimes, with my own clients, if we don't, I generally don't allow them to give a recorded statement. But if the defense needs more information or the insurance company needs more information, we'll provide it in written form. And it's after I've talked to the client and made sure I understand all the angles that are happening there. So those are a couple things to think about before you give a recorded statement after an injury.